Good to go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 122 of the Salvaggio and Cratty Sports Podcast. If you're on another Wednesday night, December 14th, 7:20 p.m. We got a lot to talk about. Hopefully, for the foreseeable future, we won't have to take breaks like we've had to take a few weeks in the recent past. But we're back at it. We're back in the swing of things. Ryan, how are we doing?
I'm doing terrific. I love my baseball team that I follow. This football team that I follow, I really enjoy watching on offense. They're terrific. Celtics, I don't know what their deal is right now, where they can't seem to hold leads. The Bruins are good though. We'll have some positive stuff for the Bruins. But other than that, yeah, I mean, like you said, with a week off, a decent amount that we missed. I mean, it's can't do nothing about that. We'll try to recap it all tonight. Of course, the big story though with the Red Sox, we'll probably start off with after one quick Celtics thing in my moment of the week, and a bit of a Bruins thing with yours. I don't know if it specifically ties into the Bruins, but to jump right into it, I need an explanation on this because I've only followed this through your tweets, the Bieksa and Chara stuff. So I really don't know anything about this. So unless you have anything else you want to get at before you jump into moments of the week, I'll let you kind of defer to that and go ahead.
Yeah. So Chara talked about how Canucks players, certain players were like practicing, like hoisting the cup.
Okay.
During the cup finals on the ice before games. And Kevin Bieksa like immediately accused him of lying, which I just immediately found hard to believe because if there's anyone I believe is telling the truth and wouldn't do something like this to like stir up controversy, it's like the most noble, like respectful guy to ever play the sport, maybe.
Yep.
So I just really, really had a hard time believing he was lying. And people in Vancouver were quick to defend their horrible hockey player / turned bad analyst in my mentions. And
I was going to say, I saw one of your interactions.
Go on my Instagram and Facebook and like make fun of the podcast. Like
fun week for you or fun weekend, whenever that took place. I scrolled through that quick. I'm like, I want no part of this shitstorm.
The guy with the Facebook picture managed to pick, I think, one of the best pictures out there of myself. So credit to him for picking a pic I look good in. But yeah, it was really weird. Like, I don't know. It's just really strange. If anybody who's making fun of the podcast that clearly hasn't listened to it wants to see the numbers, they can hit my DMs. And I can show you.
Well, my favorite was the guy that made fun of the looks and that he's one of those profiles that hides behind a hockey player or like someone that isn't him. So those are always good to see. Like, I think you had that problem with the James Harden guy before, and his picture was James Harden and like an Eagles jersey or something. It was something stupid. Yeah.
It's always them. It's always them or like weird old dudes with car selfies.
Yep.
Those people are the best. It was just really strange. Like, it's kind of crazy how you'll, all these years later defend one of your worst defensemen in the cup finals like this. So yeah, gotta just, sucked in the cup finals and you're going to defend it like this. Really strange. But yeah, that was my moment of the week. Was all that weird shit.
Has Chara said anything about this? I haven't really seen anything. Is there anything he has kind of thrown his hat in the ring on this to, I don't know, defend himself, if that's even the case, or has this gone any further? Okay.
Really haven't looked into it besides like what I've seen on Twitter, which is mainly just Bieksa complaining. So
gotcha. So
yeah.
Nice. All right. Works for me. Like I said, this is going to be the one Celtics thing we do because there's plenty of other stuff to get to. But just the West Coast trip as a whole, or just maybe the West Coast part of it, because obviously they had away games in Brooklyn and Toronto took care of business there. To me, I know I don't know how much the West Coast trip you caught because obviously the games are super late. Tough to stay up for. I know that I was struggling the other night. Thank God I did watch that Lakers game. But to me, specifically the West Coast part of the trip, I don't want to say went perfectly because there was a lot wrong with it, but like the way this team has been going so far this season, certain things I thought had to have happened. And they did in this road trip. You start off in Phoenix, taking on the 1 seed at the time. They destroy Phoenix in that game, 125-98. You have another MVP caliber guy in Devin Booker that Jason Tatum kind of shuts down like he did with Luka Doncic a couple weeks ago in that Dallas game. So a good start there. You have the Golden State matchup that was obviously talked up a ton. The finals rematch. Everyone was healthy for the most part. The Celtics didn't have Al Horford, but the Warriors didn't have Andrew Wiggins, so it kind of balanced things out. Of course, the Celtics didn't have Rob Williams either. Golden State comes out, and it was literally, like I said, I don't know how much of this game you caught. It was literally like watching the finals all over again. You had Steph Curry go off. Klay Thompson had a bunch of, big shots, big defensive plays. Tatum wilted in the moment. I don't think it's too crazy to say because he was not good in this game, probably his worst game of the season. Jaylen Brown, he stepped up. I saw reports that he was out there during pregame warmups, practicing in the shoes he wore during the finals, as kind of a reminder that I don't want to have to go through this again. He balled out. He was great. But same thing happened. Big stage, primetime game Saturday night. The top tier broadcast crews are there. The Celtics didn't play well. They got shut down. You have Grant Williams do the stupid punching the ball into the stand. So a complete meltdown there. Then you have another humbling moment against the Clippers, where obviously we talked about it before. You and I both, I think, in agreement that Tatum and Brown are probably the best duo in the NBA. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, two guys, a duo that was has been talked about in the past as one of the better ones. They come out, they outplay your duo. So another humbling moment there. And then last night's Lakers game was absolutely insane. You have, the moment where the Celtics shoot themselves in the foot, they take their foot off the gas, start to play iso ball. You're not running, down the court, fall asleep on defense. You blow a 20-point lead, but then you have, the counter punch for the Celtics. Marcus Smart has a big three and then the big steal on the inbound to Russell Westbrook. You have Anthony Davis, big time choke job, missing 2 free throws. And then Jason Tatum, I know he's shown glimpses of it. We've talked about it before, that this was something I brought up in the finals last year, that you want to see Jason Tatum had that, real killer instinct mentality. I need to take over a game. I'm going to do it. You saw this last night. You have the fadeaway over LeBron James, which was absolutely insane to send the game into overtime. And then just kind of the FU moment from Tatum that I'm taking this game over in overtime and I'm not letting the Lakers win a game that they probably shouldn't have even been in the first place. So again, a lot happened on the road trip, a lot of good, a lot of bad, but I thought, with how well the Celtics have played, just dominating everybody, to have a couple of pretty poor performances and then, a lackadaisical performance against the Lakers where they come back and play well as a team, and, come back in some adversity was really good to see. And hopefully it's a building moment for this team. I think it's probably going to be one of the more, I don't want to say lightning rod games because they've played so well, but you kind of get what I'm getting at. This is a moment where you look back on the season, if they take off from here, to say, well, they really turned some things around that Lakers game. Maybe the punch in the mouth in the Warriors game is something that's going to stick with them and say, we still need to try to figure out how to get over this team, because the Warriors are still fully in their heads. I believe that. And if anybody watching that game, you could see that. But yeah, just the West Coast trip as a whole, a lot happened, a lot of good, a lot of bad. And I thought, this is kind of one of the defining moments of the season was that Lakers game last night, coming back and winning it.
Yeah. From my perspective, I think it's just better to lose, tough games on the road against good teams than, be losing to, the teams like the Rockets and the Thunder that you're going to see, even though, the Thunder have Gilgeous-Alexander, who's pretty good, but, lower end teams like that. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things you just got to get over, and I don't really see a reason to worry about them being able to do so. So I'm in a good spot with this team still.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if you watch the game Saturday night, I think there was some definite concerns there. Maybe not, reason to panic as a whole because of how well they've played, but you were kind of waiting for them to falter a little bit just because they had been dominating everybody and running teams over. It's this isn't going to stay, they're going to have a hiccup. It sucks that it happened against the Warriors, but again, I feel like that's something that needed to have happen this season. They kind of needed a humbling moment in a sense that all right, we've been running through the East because the East is pretty garbage. To have that happen. And the Warriors haven't had a great season, but again, just so that it was that team, I think will probably light a fire under their asses the rest of the way to say, all right, we're still not really where we need to be yet. We need to take maybe one more step, one more leap. Obviously getting Rob Williams back is going to help that further down the line. But, hopefully, like I said, that's something maybe if they just continue to just run through the rest of the league after this happens, I think you can look back at it and say, all right, maybe this was a turning point in this season. And again, turning point might be too strong because of how well they've played, but I think you're getting, you're picking up what I'm putting down here.
Yeah, I gotcha.
All right.
What's next? Are we going Patriots like usual, or?
I think we'll just, like I said, the biggest story was the Xander Bogaerts stuff, the Red Sox offseason that has not really ramped up yet. Depending on who you ask, because they have made some moves. So I thought really just a quick baseball thought, because again, the Bogaerts stuff we've been sitting on for a while, the Patriots stuff really was more of the same. I don't really think you learned anything about this Patriots team from the Cardinals game. I don't know if you differ, but we'll get to that a little later. We can start with the Bogaerts stuff because that's kind of where I think we should go, because it's just, again, the Red Sox as an offseason as a whole. I'll defer to you, though, because I have a little bit more I wanted to share on it. Just your overall thoughts on maybe the contract or just the day as a whole, because I mean, it was a weird day Wednesday. You had all the reports that were the Red Sox are moving close to a deal. It was a day that started off well. They sign Kenley Jansen, then they shock everyone and get the Yoshida guy out of Japan. And then the reports are they're moving closer to a deal with Bogarts. Front office, the ownership has stepped in. So maybe, there was some hope there. And then I think it was like 1:00 in the morning, maybe right around quarter of, you have the bombshell drop that Bogarts is going to the Padres. So everyone was kind of left with their arms up saying, well, what the hell happened? So I don't know if you had any thoughts on the day as a whole, or just, I know the contract you have in your reaction, a little ridiculous, but I'll defer to you to start.
Yeah, I'm not like super pissed like some people, because ever since they signed Story and they've restocked the shortstop position over the years, it's just, been written on the wall.
Okay.
So,
yeah, you've kind of felt that way. I feel like for a while you were on top of this before anybody else. I feel like that you were more on the board of, Bogarts is probably going to go because, like you said, of what they have done to maybe push him out the door a little further. Just with the, obviously you said Story and the drafting and everything like that.
His comments this year too, he just seemed like a guy that was feeling more and more distant, more
kind of new,
more confused with like what's going on. And I'm like, there's just no way he stays with all of this. I'm sure he would have loved to stay with his buddy Devers, but like it's just, it's just the business. And maybe his buddy Devers will end up on his team in the next calendar year, because we know the Padres like to spend money. So
that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they are definitely showing that over the past few years with Tatis and Soto and Bogarts now, amongst others. Yeah, man, it sucks because he's been around for so long, and you like to see homegrown talent stay longer than this, because we're getting a rhythm here now with Mookie to Bogarts and probably Devers next. That once it gets to this point in their careers, where they're like late 20s, early 30s, where they're gone. So it sucks, but I am glad that they didn't do 11 years, because I don't know, I just wasn't down with spending 11 years on a shortstop. I don't think that's an absolutely necessary thing the Sox had to do.
Nope.
But my mindset is they could have gotten him for this money in like 6 or 7 years, months and months ago, and they didn't do it. So it just shows where their head's been at the whole time. And I think a lot of what they're doing, what they did to try and keep him, was just like, hey, we're trying, but then like, we tried.
It was a smoke. It had the feel of a smoke and mirrors. I mean, we've talked about that in the past. That's kind of the MO
like
of this
dramatic stuff with the airport and like.
Well, yeah, that was like,
oh my god, like is this a fucking, like, is this a movie, like a cheesy movie?
It's a pity party type of thing. That was, I mean, that just goes into my whole thought of it. I'm with you. Like, I saw a lot of people so I kind of share the same thought of the 11 years, 280 million. Kudos to Xander Bogaerts for going out into the market, knowing what he was worth, and probably getting a little overpaid, because like you said, the Padres are willing to spend money. They struck out on Judge. I can't remember the other free agent they were in on that day, but they struck out. Oh, Trey Turner. They struck out on him too. So they wanted to get a shortstop. They wanted to get a veteran guy that's been to the postseason and has won, and is a great leader in the clubhouse. They get that with Bogaerts. So again, I'm with you. I'm not upset that the Red Sox didn't go 11 and 280. I think the last offer we saw from Alex Spear was around 6 and 162. To me, when I see that, it's like, all right, you obviously put in the effort now when, your backs were against the wall and there were multiple other teams. I think the report was there were 6 or 7. Pete Abraham had that they didn't even finish second, third, or fourth when there were 3 to 4 other teams willing to go 200+ million on Bogaerts. He wowed the teams in interviews. Sox valued their player differently than any other team did. 6 and 162. You mentioned it before. That's a contract that should have been able to get this done months ago. Like that's where I'm at with this. Like I said, I'm not mad that they didn't give him 11 and 280 million. I'm more pissed off at the fact that you sat on this for months and you could have done this in spring training last year. And it just shows to me that you didn't really want to sign this guy. Like you said, for all the reasons, you go out and sign Trevor Story, a guy that Xander Bogaerts recruited to come here. So that's a smack in the face to Bogaerts too. Then you go out the last 2 drafts, you get Mayer, you get Ramiro, 2 guys that play shortstop. So again, like you said, the writing's kind of on the wall there. And then now all of a sudden you're willing to go 6 years, 162 when, his foot's probably already out the door. Like you said, like I said, there's multiple teams interested. The whole thing, like I said, and you mentioned it too, the airport stuff where I don't know if the report came out, they may be trying to get people to feel bad for Chaim Bloom when he was just, blindsided by, yeah, exactly. Like no one's going to feel bad for the guy that didn't put any effort into even re-signing the guy, especially like you said, when we already saw this happen once with Mookie. And that's what frustrates me too, is you had this happen with John Lester, you had this happen with Mookie Betts. And when they, didn't they had to trade Mookie Betts, what were we told? That, we want to save the payroll basically. So something like this doesn't happen again. What, 2, 3, 4 years later, the exact same thing happened. It's going to happen a year from now when Rafael Devers ends up getting traded.
And cautious in like 4 years.
Well, that's what I was listening to Felger and Maz the other a couple of days ago when they discussed it, and I think Maz brought up a good point. He's talking about how Red Sox fans want to get excited for guys like Tristan Casas and Marcelo Mayer and Brian Bale and guys like that. And he said, have fun with those guys for 4 years. Get excited for watching them then, because when the final year their rookie contract comes up or their eligibility for arbitration or whatever, they're going to get shipped out of here because they don't want to pay these guys or homegrown guys. They'd rather go out and spend what was it, 115 million or whatever they spent on Yoshida, but don't want to spend on a homegrown guy that the commodity of. Like the whole day was weird. The whole day was aggravating. You have the national media rightfully coming at the Red Sox for not really understanding. Ben Verlander had the Red Sox front office just continually let their fan base down. It's ridiculous. Mookie, Xander, unreal. Pay your guys what they deserve. Buster Only, I thought, had the tweet of the night from obviously a couple nights ago, saying there's so much about the way the Red Sox handled Xander Bogaerts' situation. It doesn't make sense. For example, they spent more money to sign Yoshida, $105 million, a corner outfielder about the same age as Bogaerts. Then they offered Bogaerts an all-star in the spring. Of course, that was the $90 million contract they offered him back then. Again, it's just the whole smoke and mirrors of it all. It's so aggravating, like you mentioned before, to watch these guys, Bloom and Kennedy or whoever it is, say that they want to bring him back and he's their number one option. And then you push it further and further down the line. You really don't make a fair offer to him. You don't really have any interest until other teams get in and get involved. The whole thing was idiotic. It's aggravating. Again, I'm not mad that he left for the contract that he did because he deserved every penny of it. But it's just the fact that they continue to not want to, like you said, sign these homegrown guys and really seem to, give a rat's ass with how things have gone. Obviously, Carlos Correa has signed. The other point I was going to make, the people that right after was like, oh, the Red Sox don't want to, don't get Bogaerts, but go out and get Carlos Correa. You just watched them not give a shortstop 11 and 280. You really think they were going to go out and give him, what was it, 13 and 300 or whatever, or 350, whatever. Yeah, his contract was. The Devers aspect, I've seen some people say like, oh, if Devers gets thrown a fair offer at him, he'll get locked up. He's not going to care too much about Bogaerts leaving. I don't believe that. I think Devers probably has a foot out the door now. Like if I was him, after you see the money that's getting thrown around for shortstops, you don't think he's going to sit there and go, maybe I should hit the open market next offseason because I could get paid a hell of a lot more than these guys. Because, you could argue that he's a better player than Correa. He's a better player than Bogaerts right now in his career. Devers is going to get the bank, and I don't know why he would want, unless the Red Sox offer him, 30 plus million a year, which they're not going to do. Why he wouldn't already want to get out of here. And if I'm a Red Sox, I would honestly be looking to trade Devers before I look to re-sign him, because whatever offer you give him is not going to be a fair offer for a talent of, a level of his talent. So they've botched this all up. It's aggravating. To me too. Like I was excited when it happened, the Jansen signing, because they finally got a real closer. The Yoshida signing was interesting to see, the reports on him coming out of Japan, what type of player he is. Those two signings now feel like kind of bandage moves where it's like, all right, we know we're going to lose Bogaerts. Let's just throw some money at a couple of guys and try to lighten the blow of losing, our de facto captain. Like I don't know if you have any, feelings on the guys they've signed so far, but to me, it's like, all right, like they're nice players. I just don't care at this point because I'm so aggravated with how things have gone that anything they do doesn't really matter to me, because I still think they're going to be probably the worst team in that division.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Martin, I got to be honest, I don't really know anything about him.
Okay.
I really like Kenley Jansen. He's just a proven commodity and gives them a defined closer, which they haven't really had definitively in 3-4 years or something.
Yep. Since Kimbrel left. So that was 2014, 15, right around there.
Kimbrel in 2014, 2019 or 2018. He was
even. Oh yeah, sorry. I don't know why I went all the way back to 2013. Yeah, no, didn't have him for that long. He broke into the league, I think, in 2013.
Yoshida. I mean, the numbers are good, but it's just one of those things. I gotta see it at the MLB level. But he does have the drag swing that we've seen like guys like Ichiro and Hideki Matsui have in the past, amongst others. I think Kosuke Fukudome had it as well. I love the drag swing. I love it. I think it's just pleasing to watch.
It's something different.
But yeah, they are. Yeah, it is something different, and they are definitely Band-Aid moves. So
well, that's what I mean. Like you see those two moves at the start of the day. It's like, all right, maybe they're starting to move towards something. Like those are two legitimate needs they had. A closer that they haven't had, according to me, since 2013, because I can't remember when the hell players were here. And a corner outfielder. They need a right fielder. This guy, I think, profiles more as a left fielder because his defense isn't the greatest. So maybe Verdugo moves out to right field. I've heard rumblings, maybe they trade Verdugo, which I don't know if I do that. But yeah, it's two good moves at the start of the day. And then after you go to bed at night, you see the Bogart stuff. It's like, all right, you just undid everything that was good that you did that day. Chris Martin, again, that wasn't the same day. He was signed a couple days beforehand. But again, it's a late inning guy that has had some success. He doesn't walk anybody, which is one of their biggest needs in the bullpen. So he's a guy that fits the mold pretty well. Jansen, like I said, closer, that works. Yoshida, of course, there were reports that came with him from Kylie McDaniels of ESPN, said that according to 10 sources he spoke to, they all thought the Red Sox overpaid a hefty margin. One executive went as far to say, quote, "We thought he was worth less than half of what they paid." So that's a great kind of little tidbit with him. Fits into the Red Sox mold. Overpay for guys that aren't with the organization, that haven't proven anything, instead of going out and getting your, known commodities. So I don't know how it's going to work out. Like I said, the moves just, they don't sit right with me. The thing too that pissed me off, I don't know if you saw it, that obviously the day after Bogarts, it became official the very next day, is when the Red Sox officially, their Twitter account put out, we officially signed Chris Martin to a 2-year, $17.5 million deal. Like the timing of that couldn't have been worse. The comments were hilarious to roll through. It's like, that's great timing that this is a guy you signed like a week before. You could have put out any time before then. And now the day after Bogart signs with the Padres is when you officially have signed this guy. So the front office, again, it's unbelievable how much of a joke this team has turned into, how much they just really don't seem to care, it looks like, with how things go. And now you obviously have the reports that, they're still going to go after guys and they want to make impact moves, which one of the things Chaim Bloom said the other night. It's like, I think yours and in my standpoint of impact moves are completely different from what he in the front office thinks are impact moves. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. We've had plenty of names come off the board. I don't know if I have obviously a lot of them in here. I don't know if you scrolled through it at all. Any move that stuck out for you? Obviously the Judge move going back to the Yankees was huge. 9 years, $360 million. How quick of a turn that was, kind of internally laughing that, wow, the Yankees are going to pay Aaron Judge all that money. That contract's not going to work out well. And the Red Sox lose Bogart. So it's like, all right, not much to laugh at there. Trey Turner, I thought there was hope when he signs with the Phillies. It's like, all right, there goes one of Bogart's main suitors. Maybe he'll come back to the Red Sox. He goes to Philly for crazy money. Mitch Haniger, a Red Sox guy that was linked to, he goes to the Giants. Carlos Correa went there, of course, as well for 13 and 350, like you said. So a ton of crazy moves. Christian Vasquez goes to the Twins. I think that was last night. That was official. So again, the Red Sox were linked to Vasquez. I would have liked to brought him back. But that obviously doesn't seem to be the case. So I'm just rambling. Any moves that kind of stood out to you or anything that you intrigued by?
Mainly for me, I thought the Sean Murphy trade was interesting. There's a lot of big names. I heard that Salinas prospect is really a really interesting young pitcher. So that was a bigger deal than I would have expected it to be.
Yep.
Matt Strom, when we're talking former Red Sox.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about him. Yep.
I mean, it's a good pickup for them, but I didn't really expect the Red Sox to keep him. So
no,
not super surprising. I thought DeGrom to Texas was interesting. I mean, the Mets made quick work to clean things up a little bit with the Verlander signing. So
absolutely,
it's not like the biggest deal, but they also lost Bassett to Toronto. I was texting with you the other day, like Toronto's rotation is going to be extremely good.
Loading up, absolutely.
Yeah, like probably the best in the league. It looks like Mets get Kodai Senga too.
That was the other one. I knew I forgot about another Red Sox guy that they were quote unquote linked to. And originally I thought the report was there was a 7-year offer from the Red Sox. That came to be false. So who knows how really in they were on Senga or not. But yeah, the Mets, like you said, they clean up well after losing DeGrom. DeGrom's contract was kind of, you and I talked about this briefly, literally the definition of boom or bust. Obviously DeGrom, the best pitcher in baseball when he's healthy, but has not been healthy for the last 3 or so years. So the Texas Rangers take a pretty big gamble that could pay off really well. Obviously he's trying to build something there in Texas, but still a long ways to go with that team.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I think Clevenger to the White Sox is interesting as well, but that's
it's a sneaky
really
move. Yep.
all my thoughts. I don't, have any crazy takes or anything, but it's been an interesting free agency so far, with Correa's today being the big mega deal, the biggest one so far.
Yep.
But I mean, kind of expected the Giants to make a big splash. Were they one of the teams in on Bogarts? I know they were in on Judge.
They were in on Judge. I don't ever remember seeing anything on Bogarts. I mean, it would have made sense. They needed a shortstop. But I saw a good tweet that was talking.
Mixing it up with Swanson.
Maybe, yeah. I know they were in on Swanson at one point. I mean, that's a guy's name that's come up for the Red Sox. Again, I don't know how
they're not going to do that.
No, I don't know how people can sit there and
show their hand.
Yeah, and watch Bogarts go and watch Correa go and sit there and see what these shortstops are getting. Swanson's probably not going to get $300 million. I would be very surprised if he did, but maybe he will. Maybe a team like the Cubs or someone will overpay for him. The Red Sox aren't going to do that. Like, they're going to sit there and they're going to go with Chaim Bloom already played his hand too. He said the other day that they're going to move Story to shortstop. So any shortstop on the market or trade potential, they're not going to go after. They're going to go get some bum. Yeah, they're going to go get some bum second baseman or move Kike to second base and get a bum center fielder. Like, again, there's been talks of they want to enter the trade market. I don't have faith that they're going to, want to give anything up off the farm system to get anybody worthwhile. They're going to end up with some, stiff outfielder that, not to say like a Hunter Renfroe type move because he was good here, but like something like that where you're going to get a guy that's kind of overlooked and kind of forgotten of on the team he was on and see if it works out there. Like, the other thing too that I know, the Baltimore getting Kyle Gibson for a year, they get some pitching help there, not a huge move, but again, every team in the AL East has made some sort of move. This was obviously before the Red Sox went out and, got Yoshida and got, I can't think of the closer's name as I try to find him here, and got Jansen. Thank you. I'm drawing a blank. But every AL East team has seemingly done something that they needed to. The Orioles needed pitching help. They went out and got a guy that, was kind of looked at as a batting practice pitcher because he's not that good, but still a decent move for them. The Rays obviously beat you out to get Zach Eflin. He wanted to go there, closer to home. The Yankees had to overpay for Aaron Judge and did. They bring him back and get a reliever in Tommy Kahnle, who, again, the Red Sox were interested in, but lost out to the Yankees. You mentioned it. The Blue Jays load up in their rotation with Chris Bassett. That's a huge move for them to solidify that. So, again, teams around you are getting better. The Guardians, they get Josh Bell, a guy that the Red Sox, again, were reportedly linked to. Anytime I hear that they're reportedly linked to anybody at this point, I just think it's probably a load of crap. Cody Bellinger goes to the Cubs. I don't know if that was a guy you thought maybe the Red Sox would take a chance on or not, but that was a pretty big move. But yeah, every team around you got better and continues to make moves that they have to. You look at the team like the Phillies, they went out, needed a shortstop and some rotation help. They got both those. The Mets, you said they lose DeGrom. They get rotation help. So every team is doing something that it needs to. And the Red Sox kind of just sit in, again, a middling ground, which is incredibly frustrating. Just have to sit through and watch again. And I don't know what to say about them anymore because it seems like you're beating the same drum. You're playing the same old record that this team just does not really seem to care. And again, and they can say it all they want, but it's just a snake oil salesman, smoke and mirrors type job at this point that, like, I don't see how people can't see through at this point. If there's anyone who still has faith in this team.
Yeah. I mean, I lost faith a couple of years ago, so
fair enough.
Yeah, man, I don't really see them doing much else than this. Like, I don't know. It says Chaim Bloom saying they're very aggressive on the trade market, but I'll believe that when I see it. So
yeah, exactly. Well, that's what I mean. Like, a very aggressive is to go get some team's fifth outfielder or a team's ninth best pitcher, and like, be aggressive in places you need to be aggressive in. Nathan Eovaldi's still sitting out there. You have legitimate needs in your starting rotation because if you look at that rotation on paper, it's one of the most disgusting rotations I've ever seen. Again, they still have Chris Sale, number one, because they have faith that he's going to come back and be an all-star level pitcher, which you're high if you think that's the case. Eovaldi's still out there. Walker's still out there. Go out and give some of these guys a contract. Do something because you need all the help you can get. I saw somebody tweet the other day. They said it's hilarious that, the strength of the Red Sox bullpen, I just gave it away. The strength of the Red Sox going into this season could be their bullpen when it was the worst thing they had last season. So that just shows how far they have fallen. They're going to end up, I've seen people say it, they're going to end up bringing JD Martinez back to DH because they've let better options go by the wayside. They're going to end up with, they've kicked the tires on Corey Kluber for the third straight season. Like, again, bargain bin, bottom barrel crap that other teams are getting rid of because they know they're not, worth anything anymore.
It's classic.
Yep.
Stupid.
Big market team playing like the Rays.
Exactly. I figured we could go to Bruins next since, NFL is the bigger stuff.
Yeah, we could finish with that and bleed into the whoever the hell they're playing this week.
Raiders.
The Raiders. Thank you.
Yep. To start, before we get into some games, the Bruins are in the mix on Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews doing.
Yeah, explain to me how this might work.
Due diligence, I imagine. Nothing super serious right now. I imagine they're in on Toews just because they're already talking about Kane.
Okay.
I just don't really see a situation where they bring in another center because they do not need to.
Yeah, it wouldn't fit the mold, I wouldn't say.
That is an off-season priority. Patrick Kane, it's really hard to get a firm
barometer
idea
type
of his value because he's gonna have to be retained twice. Likely a third team involved to get that down to 2.5 instead of 10. So, you're gonna have to give up a lot to get him, but are you gonna have to give up more than you originally have to because he's so cheap? Like,
I get where you're coming from. Yeah, I understand that.
Look, I'm gonna tell any Bruins fan that wants Patrick Kane, you are going to have to give up Fabian Lysell and a first round pick and more. So be prepared for that. Because that is what it will cost.
Would you do that with
No.
Even with how the teams looked, this would be a move that puts them just completely over the top, like there's no one else that can compete type of thing. You still wouldn't do that.
No, I don't think giving up your best prospect in a bad prospect pool for a guy that is almost definitely a rental, I'm going to say probably definitely a rental, is smart at this point. You traded a lot of picks in the past. If you trade another first, you're making a problem you already have even worse down the road, just, pushing the snowball down the hill. I don't think this is the year for it. This team is just really, really, really good. It's not a year like any year in the past where you need a big time scorer for Krejci or just a big time scorer in general. That's not really a problem anymore. So I don't see going through the headache of double salary retention, giving up a top prospect and more in a year where you've lost 5 games through 28. I just don't.
It's still wild to sit there and say and just look at it in the box scores and everything in the standings.
Yeah, like they've found something that works. I don't think it's worth it this year, but it's possible, man. If they really want to go for it, getting a guy on the wing who's won 3 Stanley Cups and is arguably the greatest American hockey player ever would be quite the way to do it. But I really don't see them trading for any top centers this year because they do not need to. Center will be an off-season priority if you lose one of Bergeron or Krejci or both, and that's how it should be.
Gotcha.
That's how I look at it. But
makes sense to me.
They're in the mix. I mean, just shows.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like
isn't just sitting around.
Yeah, you have to. This is something you have to kick the tires on. Like it'd be dumb to let this go by the wayside. If there was any sort of way you could, I mean, you're not going to steal one over on the Blackhawks here, but. Yeah. Maybe we've seen crazier trades before. I mean, Taylor Hall was acquired for practically nothing. So
it's
crazier things have been done. I know you liked Andres Bjork a lot, but to be honest,
things have not gone well.
Yeah, anytime you bring that trade up, there's one clear winner to that, and that is it.
Yep. But Kane will cost a lot. I'm looking at a team, if they can get back in the mix, like the New York Rangers still, to end up with Patrick Kane when all is said and done. But we shall see on that front. On to the past week of games. Colorado, I mean, didn't expect to say the Bruins are outscoring Colorado 9-1, but here we are. But, Colorado fans were really weird about this as if everybody didn't know this, but like any tweet I'd say about like, oh, the Bruins are doing this Colorado, this is amazing. Everybody's like, oh, they're pretty much playing an AHL team, bro. Like, So what?
Yeah, exactly.
You've Cale Makar and Nathan McKinnon in the lineup.
Yeah, you're not playing a stiff team. Yeah.
And Mikko Rantanen. Like,
There's still plenty of guys on that roster that won the cup last year. It's not like their
Yeah.
entire team got blown up and have been blown out by injuries. Like,
and even in the second game, when you have just Rantanen and Makar because McKinnon got hurt, still two of the best players in the league. Like, your team is fine. They're missing Josh Manson as well. They just got Nichushkin back recently. But yeah, you pretty thoroughly beat the Colorado Avalanche twice, and that's pretty remarkable. Olmark made a 23 save shutout in this game. The third line dominated with Hall, Coyle, and Frederick. They've looked really good for the large majority of time since they've been together. Trent Frederick has become a threat on one-timers, which I didn't expect.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Yeah, who
I don't
would have
think he
thought
did
that?
either, talking to the media about it a little bit, but here he is. He's here. But yeah, that line has been working, which is really nice. They dominated, so did Olmark, and you took advantage of a battered team. If you meet them in the Stanley Cup Finals, I think you're talking a different story. But it's nice to get those wins. You just got to beat the team in front of you, which they didn't do in Arizona, unfortunately. Arizona was a weird one. Jeremy Swayman made 12 saves on 16 shots, which is not what you want. They lost 4-3.
Any concern for him? Sorry to cut you off.
A little.
Okay, I've seen some people not jumping ship, but like there is some definite concerns. I feel like, again, I think that you really, not that you should be splitting it 50-50 at this point because Allmark played so great, but I do worry about him getting tired down the stretch, and if Swayman can't pick up the slack, then maybe you have a mini problem brewing there. But yeah, you'd like to see him play a little better, especially in a game like this against Arizona.
Yeah, the biggest thing in this one was the ending, the dump in. He could have just covered it and sent it to Forbort, or even covered it if you really wanted to play it safe. But Forbort was in adequate position to receive this puck. He didn't touch it because he thought it was going to be icing. Michelli picks it up behind the net, finds Krause, game over. The instincts got to kick in there. It's unfortunate that it didn't, but it's not the end of the world. It's so weird because I was talking to my boss on Friday. I was like, I don't know why. I have a weird feeling about this Arizona game tonight. Like, they haven't lost to a truly awful team this year yet.
It screamed trap game, especially like I know there was some people that thought the whole atmosphere was cool in the college arena, but like just the way the game, just the whole feel about it, it's like there's something off about this game. Yeah. Like, not to say that the Bruins will. I mean, yeah, you could say they were due for a bad game, but I don't know. Does it say anything about the Bruins that like this is what it takes to beat them? A fluky kind of garbage goal at the end of a game,
when you outshoot a team by 30 and
well, that's what I mean. It's like Arizona's goalie stood on his head. I watched that whole game. I'm like, it's one of those games. We've said it. We've had them before where it's like they're not going to win this game. Doesn't matter how well they play. The goalie opposing them's playing too well, and that's exactly what happened. And then, like I said, you have the really fluky goal at the end of it to really top things off.
Yeah, it was just a goofy ass game. It's pretty astonishing that they lost. It was also a Josh Brown revenge game. So God damn it. We all knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, he was due for one of those too. Someone was going to finally bite you in the ass at some point.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, it's like I'm not super worried about it. But Swayman, like, overall, has been good recently. I think going into this, he won like 3 of his last 4 starts, 3 of his last 5 starts. So he's playing okay, but like he definitely hasn't been himself this year. So there is reason for concern. But I have seen people freaking out on Twitter. To anybody freaking out or who wants like Kincaid, Jeremy Swayman has to go through waivers. So that is where the discussion
not happening.
ends.
Yep.
So Jeremy Swayman is staying, and that's a good thing because he will be fine.
Would you play him more? Like if he's in a little bit of a funk, would you keep the way they're going right now with the tandem, or okay, no changes there?
No, yeah, like he's only going to get better if he gets reps every once in a while and gets back in his groove. I don't think sitting on the bench is really going to help him.
No, I meant the other way, like play him more to try to get him out of if he's in some sort of funk, like maybe start him a couple games in a row.
I would be like, I really don't care what they do in net. I think,
I'm not like I don't want it to come off like I'm bitching. Yeah, I don't want to come off like I'm bitching about the goalie tandem here. I'm like, play Swayman more, but Like, I'm just curious if maybe that's something that could maybe get him, like I said, get him out of the rut he may be in, if he could even call it one. Because again, like you said, they have lost 4 games all season. Like, they're fired, if you count the overtime game, like, or shootout, whatever it was that they lost in.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be fine with me if they give him a couple. Maybe that is what he needs.
Mhm.
But with the way Olmark's playing, that's gonna be hard to.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's tough to take out a guy that's
Yeah.
probably the clear-cut Vezina favorite right now. Like,
Yeah, he's like on Tim Thomas level this year. It's pretty insane. Let's actually check after last night's game because he was like 16-1 with
I was
a
gonna say he's what
177 and a
16-1
19 and a 941 going into last night's game. Now he's 17-1 with a 183 and a 938.
just like everyone predicted.
Yeah, dude. I don't know what happened, but actually we have talked about. Well, Sofia Jurcevic talked about Taylor Hall's skate blade change that's helped him because he grabbed one of Eric Hollis' sticks last year and just ran with it.
Okay.
He liked the curve better. And Linus Olmark came out today, made an equipment change from like CCM to Bauer or vice versa. So
okay. So
I don't know what's going on, man.
curse of the CCM. Got it.
I don't know, man. Whatever they're doing is working. Sometimes you just need to switch it up, I guess. Speaking of Olmark, 30 saves on 31 shots against Vegas in Vegas. So they split with Vegas. They won at home. We won at home. It was just a nice, clean win. It was just nothing super crazy in this game, but they just got it done. And these were 2 games that have been highlights in DeBrusque and Coyle's recent hot streaks. They're both putting up points as of late. At a high level. I thought DeBrusque was going to score a hat trick in the first 5 minutes of last night's game. Just continuing his hot season. Coyle's been good as well. He scores on a bit of a soft one on this one, but I guess we'll take it. It was a little just like a turnaround wrister I think Thompson should have had, but what can you do? You'll take him however you can get him. But a good win on the road in Vegas here, 22-4-1 after that one. They get the Islanders at home last night. In the shootout, Linus Olmark made 23 saves on 26 shots. DeBrusque scores 2 goals quick to start. It looked like Forbort was going to have the second one, but he got his goal late in the game anyways. With just an awesome shot. Like I didn't know Derek Forbort had that in him, but that was a big goal at the time, but didn't end up holding up as the game winner. And the Bruins went on into the shootout and won. Overtime was crazy in this game. There were tips and deflections everywhere for the goals, weird bounces. But yeah, like one of the more entertaining overtimes we've seen this year. And then they go to the shootout. DeBrusque scores on his pad and didn't move. He's just like, I'm going to go turbo mode and, just try and go top corner.
Yeah.
And it usually works. And then Pastrnak with the fake and then bar down, like, was just
disgusting.
Yeah. He's ridiculous. Just a great win. Gotta love it. And
absolutely
23-4-1 is just otherworldly.
Just like I said with Olmark, just like everyone predicted. Like
otherworldly. They really are this year. Next up, we got LA tomorrow night at home. We got a 3-game home stretch coming up with LA to start it. 15-12-5, 35 points, third in the Pacific this year. Kevin Fiala, the new addition, is pacing them and scoring this year. He's got 32 points in 32 games. This Saturday, I will be in the building as they play Sean Corelli and the Columbus Blue Jackets, who have been beaten up by injuries and poor goaltending this year. One of the worst teams in the league. 10-16-2, 8th in the Metro. Johnny Gaudreau's playing pretty well. He's got 31 points in 28 games. Good to see my boy Corrali tomorrow, or Saturday rather, not tomorrow.
A couple days away. Yeah, gotta get there.
I'm thinking.
You're too excited. I understand.
Game. Yeah, I am excited to get in there, get boots on the ground. And then the 19th, they have the Florida Panthers, who are 14-12-4. 5th in the Atlantic, Matthew Tkachuk is, keeping up that scoring pace from last year. Looks like both of the former Flames are doing pretty well in their new environments. He's got 39 points in 28 games. With the kind of middling Florida Panthers, I think they're kind of in a similar mold to the last time we saw them a couple of times. But an interesting stretch for the Bruins. Nice to stay at home. And I'm I'm expecting more of the same. That's really it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't know how there's nothing. It's like, oh, I hope they do this right, and maybe they can get out of this. But like everything seems to be rolling on all cylinders. So there's nothing. Again, I don't want to make it sound like I'm complaining, but the only thing is maybe get Swayman a couple extra starts, see if he can break out a little bit, and then you just have two dominant goalies. But again, do you want to take the time away from the guy that's been so phenomenal for you in Olmark this season? I don't think you would. So whatever they do, I'm down with because everything has worked so far.
Yeah, I mean, you've given Olmark the last two, so maybe you go Swayman against LA, then maybe Swayman against Columbus.
I was gonna say maybe give Swayman I don't know. Again, nothing's a cupcake in professional
Yeah.
sports, but like you said, Columbus has had a horrendous season. I wouldn't be opposed to going kind of back to back Swayman on those two games.
Yeah, but I mean, we will see Swayman in these next two games, so let's see if he can, snap out of things a little bit because it's been a little bit of a funky year. I wouldn't say a bad year, but he's a young goalie figuring things out. So I'm not gonna, be super worried about it. But we'll see what happens. I hope it just doesn't trickle into the season any further because that would be ideal. But I think that's gonna wrap it up for Bruins.
I think so. I got nothing else. Yeah, nothing else that I have
nothing else
on my mind.
Segues us nicely into studs and duds. The Patriots pull off a 27-13 win over the Arizona Cardinals. I almost just called them the Houston Cardinals for some reason. I was about to, and I stopped myself.
Okay.
Don't know why.
I don't know. I was gonna say where that would have came from. Like St. Louis Cardinals would have been understandable.
Yeah, I don't know. Just my brain sometimes.
All right.
Studs and duds, as usual with Patriots, and I will defer to you as usual to start.
All right, I try to go different from. I mean, there were some pretty standout studs and duds, as we'll get to a little later. But my number 3 was Daniel Equale. 3 tackles, 1 sack. Came on 3rd down, so obviously got the ball. 1 tackle for a loss, 1 quarterback hit. Had a couple of pressures that helped out set up one of Josh Uche's many sacks. Also had a hurry up on Colt McCoy that set up the Hopkins catch out of the back of the end zone that wasn't a touchdown. That of course led to a field goal for the Cardinals. So Equale, he not the most well-known name, but has filled in, I thought, nicely for Christian Barmore. Now maybe Christian Barmore might be on the way back, so we'll see if Equale his playing time goes down at all. But I thought he was really good in this game, especially the second half. He seemed like he was all over the field or in the backfield a couple times. Really nice game from him.
Yeah, he was good. I saw him. I don't know if he's ex Mississippi State, but he was. I saw a tweet of his about Mike Leach.
Yeah, I did see that too. Yep.
But yeah, we just want to throw it out there too. Rest in peace, Mike Leach. He was a big time college football legend. Unfortunately, died due to complications with a heart condition this past week. So just want to send our best out there because every story you hear about Mike Leach is just really funny. How he's like super personable and all these like random conversations he'll have, like funny media moments. My favorite recently was that Mississippi State game late in the season where he started folding up the chairs on the sideline so his players couldn't sit down.
Yep,
that's hilarious. He really was just one of those larger than life guys, and things took a sudden turn for the worse with his health, and that's just really unfortunate. And it's a huge loss. The Mississippi State hired their defensive coordinator, I think, as a head coach today, so he's got big shoes to fill. But yeah, we just want to send our best to Leach family and anyone affected by this because it was a massive loss and one that's going to be hard to replace. But back to studs and duds. Pierre Strong Jr. is my number 3 stud because he had to step up and he did, much like Kevin Harris. But Pierre Strong just looked really explosive. He made some noise in the passing game and, just looked really good for a guy that hasn't seen much action this year, mainly just special teams.
I was going to
5
say
carries for 70 yards and a touchdown, 2 catches on 2 targets for 20 yards.
Looked like a guy that wanted to make up for that boneheaded running into the punter a couple weeks ago. So
yeah,
he's my honorable mention. Like I said, I wanted to try to change it up, but absolutely would have had him as my number 3 or number 2 because like for the same reasons you said it. Harris obviously isn't playing in the game. Stevenson goes down. You don't really know what you have in the 2 running backs, the 2 rookies, because they haven't played a ton as you mentioned. And Strong, was the better of the 2 down the stretch. Harris obviously was the first guy they went to, had the touchdown to start. And then Strong, it's just seemed like he got better as the game went on. So obviously good to see him give you something when you really needed it.
Yeah, and it gives you more, more confidence going forward, with however Ramondre Stevenson's health look and looks and what the backfield looks like next year with Damian Harris being a free agent. So it was nice to see some progression from Pierre Strong, when he had to step up and made some big plays and obviously scored a touchdown. So it's pretty nice for him in his first heavy dose of action in the NFL on offense.
Absolutely. My number 2 is the same as yours, so you can feel free to jump in whenever you feel like it. Marcus Jones, I have him in the outline as the utility guy because that's basically what he is on this team at this point. Is he going to line up as a corner? Is he going to line up as a wide receiver? He's going to return punts and kickoffs. Guy does it all. 7 tackles, 1 assist, 6 combined as you had here. An interception, 2 pass breakups, 1 catch on 1 target for 12 yards. And coverage stats, he was 3 for 7 for 43 yards allowed. Absolutely leveled Trey McBride, who was 6'4", 249 on his first down catch. That was the only thing that stunk, is that he caught the ball. I have Bryant in here. I meant Marcus Jones. Thank you. He is 5'8", 175 pounds. So giving up a ton of height and weight there. The guy does it all. This is from Mike Reese. He said, quote, Marcus Jones is a true triple threat player, 8 snaps on offense, 67 on defense, and 11 on special teams. He also went into what he did in the game. And then from Boston Sports Info on Twitter, saying Marcus Jones is the only player in the Super Bowl era to have a receiving touchdown, a punt return touchdown, and an interception in a single season. So he's been phenomenal. He has been one of the diamond in the rough finds that Bill Belichick tends to get from time to time. The guy does it all, and I am pretty excited to see what he can do moving forward because he's the guy that obviously is going to probably be used pretty heavily in this Raiders game with a lot of questions on the offensive side of the ball with, health and stuff like that. More of Marcus Jones. He's one of your more explosive players. He's been excellent.
Yeah, he's so quick. Like, he's really fun to watch. And yeah, he really is a Swiss Army knife. And it's awesome. I mean, it took him like a few weeks. It's not like he came in and was this Swiss Army knife stud right away, but he's got a place on multiple areas of this team now. So
absolutely. And he was defensive player of the week? What was he? Somebody got player of the week, didn't they, this week? Did I get him? Uche, sorry, I spoiled it for the number 1. Half of my number 1, because I kind of cheated here, because I grouped these 2 guys in together because they, I think, are the probably the dynamic duo on this defense, Josh Uche and Matt Judon. I had to spoil it for you. You had Uche as well. So again, whenever you want to jump in, feel free. 102 combined tackles between Judon and Uche, 102 combined snaps, 9 tackles, 4.5 sacks for 32.5 yards lost, 4 tackles for losses, 6 quarterback hits. Judon had a sack and a half. Uche had 3 sacks. Like I said, these 2 guys are dangerous on the line. They've been getting better as the season goes on. Uche especially, I think he's up to 9 or 10 sacks now on the year. And I think most of them have come in the second half of the season. So he's been great. He's been kind of what we've been waiting to see because we talked about him in the past where it's like this guy had a lot of high hopes. It's a high draft pick. And between injuries, not getting out on the field, not getting the opportunities, there was some question marks around him. He's been great this season. He's been, again, a 1-2 punch with Judon, who continues to be good as the season progresses forward.
Yeah, I mean, you had Judon with 14.5, tied with Nick Bosa, and Josh Uche just climbing up to casually tied for 9th all of a sudden.
Out of literally nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a late bloomer. We've been talking about it for a few weeks now. I feel like the last 2 or 3 shows. Yeah, Josh Uche late bloomer season is here. He's awesome. He was all over the place in this game and has really become a home wrecker for this team. Absolutely, without a doubt, my number 1 step without hesitation this week.
All right, works for me. On to the duds, the more kind of fun things to talk about. We can pick apart guys. The new Isaiah Wynn at this point, it's Trent Brown for me as my number 3. He allowed the one and only sack Mac Jones had where he didn't block anybody on the play. And then on Pierre Strong's touchdown run, when I went back and watched that highlight, he almost stopped that himself because he was pushed backwards into Pierre Strong. Strong had to legitimately bounce off of him to get into the end zone. And then, like I said, he's Isaiah Wynn 2.0 because 2 penalties again in this game. A false start on 3rd and 9, which is a killer for this. 3rd and 9 to begin with is a killer for this offense because they don't have any plays that can get them 9 yards, it seems like. That sets up a 3rd and 14, which for the Patriots at this point is just completely unobtainable. So good luck with that. And then had an ineligible downfield penalty that erased a 6-yard gain, set up 2nd and 12, which again is not a manageable down at all for this Patriots team. I don't know what the deal is with Trent Brown, whether he, is frustrated about something, doesn't want to be out there, or just has been taking a beating this season and maybe he's, hurt and not letting it show. He's been horrible though. And the fact that you have 2 legitimate questions at your tackle spots is not, and we've been saying that all season. But just as the weeks go on and Trent Brown continues to get worse, it seems like The Patriots have a legitimate. They've had a problem all season on their offensive line, but it continues to get worse and worse as the season goes on. You'd hope he'd get better as it moved on, but that does not seem to be the case with Trent Brown.
No, he's like, he hasn't been bad every week this year, but he's just not really been reliable.
There's been weeks where
go ahead. I'm like, all right, he's either going to be serviceable or he's going to be completely terrible.
Mm-hmm. There's been a couple of I don't think he did in this game, but the last few, obviously we didn't have the show to talk about last week, but he did it again here, where it's like he's going to make not chop blocks, but trying to like undercut guys where he really even should be doing that. So like the decision-making process from him too has been incredibly suspect the last few weeks. Like I said, I don't know if it's just he doesn't want to be out there or what the deal is, but it has not been good for him.
No, it hasn't. It really, really hasn't. My number 3 was Dietrich Wise because he played 64 snaps, 64% of the snaps, and only had 2 assisted tackles. Just kind of a quiet night for him.
Mm-hmm. I think he got ran over by, I want to say James Conner too. There was a tackle attempt he had. Might have been Colt McCoy on a scramble where he got either like barreled over or couldn't bring the guy down. So yeah, not a great game from Wise. Kind of non-existent on the defensive side of the ball, which is not great, but I don't know. No really concerns there for Wise. He's been pretty good all season.
Yeah. Sorry, I gotta be honest. I totally just blanked out like randomly.
It's okay. We'll move on to my number 2 dud. There wasn't much else to say there. Devin McCourty is my 2. I hate to say it. I said it earlier in the year and you got mad at me for it, but this was another game where he has kind of gone into that Dante Hightower mold where he looked old again in this game. Just 2 tackles on 64 snaps played. That was tied for the second most on defense. 2 plays that stood out to me, though. He got carried into the end zone on James Conner's touchdown, which Devin McCourty is one of the better tacklers on this team. So that was incredibly surprising to see him just not be able to wrap up James Conner, who's a good running back. Don't get me wrong. Not a stiff by any means, but like you should be able to, get him on first contact. And then the worst one was Colt McCoy ran him over on a scramble, which like I get Colt McCoy's a decent sized quarterback, but again, it's Devin McCourty. It really shouldn't have that happen. He said it, joked about it in the post game himself. I think he basically called himself old. Just not a great look. Again, I know it's kind of nitpicking here because Devin McCourty's been so great, but I just didn't think he was all that great. There's a couple plays he got lost in coverage too in this game. He looked old, and that makes me sad, like I have in the outline, because I like Devin McCourty. I want to root for him like I've been doing. But a game like this, it's tough when you watch a guy that's played so well look so bad out of kind of nowhere.
Yeah, I don't know how much else to add. He does look old.
Fair enough.
He does. My number 2 dud is Nelson Aguilar because he had 5 catches for 32 yards, but had some tough drops. He did have the big save of the game, saving Devontae Parker from potentially more serious injury. But other than that, it was just kind of a rough game for him, showing why people make fun of his hands from time to time.
Absolutely. He's my number 1, just to get that out of the way. Like you said, the 5 catches for 32 yards. Thank God the overturned interception, the pick 6, got overturned because that ball hit him right in the hands. I saw a funny tweet that was like Mac Jones continues to make the costly mistake week after week of hitting Nelson Aguilar right in the hands. Like you said, though, the only productive thing he did in this game was save Devontae Parker, have him come out of the game because of the concussion. I saw today the NFL is investigating, what the hell happened there, that he was allowed to stay on the field, or, why the spotter didn't get Devontae Parker off the field, because clear as day, as soon as he got up, it was either Trent Brown or maybe it was Cole Strange he kind of fell into. Right then and there, it's like, all right, that guy's concussed, get him out of there. So kudos there, and points to Aguilar for looking out for his teammate and seeing that this guy's not right. We got to, do something to get him off the field. Yeah,
100%. I have Devon Godshaw as my number 1. Just kind of a similar situation to Wise. Plays 52% of snaps, just 1 assisted tackle. He's just not good. Devon Godshaw.
He's a guy that
hasn't been this year.
Really it has not lived up to the contract. I feel like the guy that, we didn't know a ton about him when
up too. Like,
that's what I mean.
He's one of the best D tackles in the league. He just hasn't been.
I was gonna say, we didn't know a ton about him when they signed him, but all the talk seemed to be like, this is a guy that's gonna really fit in well here. He's gonna be super effective and help him stop the run. And he just really, like you said, this year especially, just really hasn't been. And you hope he can do something to improve. But like I said, Barmore I thought I saw today, is expected to come back soon. So
he was activated. So
was he? Okay, so
So he's
All
got the
right,
3 week
so
window. It doesn't mean he's going to come back.
that's
immediately,
true. But I mean,
he
you
might.
could very well see Godshaw's playing time go down, especially if Equality continues to play well. Like you said, Barmore comes back, then Godshaw
Lawrence
may.
guy as well.
Yeah, Lawrence guy. Yep, he's a DT as well. So a lot of options there, and Godshaw seems to be the odd man out because he has not really done a whole lot this year to instill any confidence in playing him.
Been a little disappointing for sure.
But that's it for studs and duds. Again, like I said, kind of previewing this game earlier in the show. What is the takeaway from this game? Because it was a game that we did not expect. Obviously, Kyler Murray unfortunately goes down with a torn ACL. 2-3 plays into the game. So now it's, you have to game plan for Colt McCoy, which is a lot easier to do than game plan for Kyler Murray. D-Hop doesn't have an outstanding game. James Conner was decent. The defense stepped up well for the Patriots, but again, the offensive game plan, I think that's kind of one of the bigger takeaways. You still have glaring problems on the offense. We obviously didn't get to talk about it last week with no show. You still have Mac Jones, basically telling Matt Patricia to F off, shut up on the sideline, which I'm fine with. I don't know if you feel the same way. I've seen some people, there's been some mixed feelings about that. He shouldn't be showing up as offensive coordinator on prime time, or in my case, like do that more because if I was Mac Jones, I'd be pissed about having to run 90 screen plays a game and not being able to throw the ball downfield. But you saw that in this game. You had a couple of glimpses. The first play of the game goes 14 yards to Parker. You had that 30-yard bomb to Hunter Henry. And then it seems like those plays were followed up with, a stupid screen to the left or a flip pass to the right that goes, in the wrong direction. So I don't know. Did this game show anything to you for this Patriots team? Because to me, it's like the offense still stinks and the defense can still feast on pretty mediocre teams.
Yeah, it's really hard to take a lot away from this game because of Kyler's injury. That was just like the damper on this one. Unfortunate for Murray as well. Didn't look good. Anytime it's a non-contact injury like that, I think kind everybody at this point fears for the worst.
Knew right away, yeah. Like Judon knew, especially he was calling over the bench immediately. Like as soon as you saw him juke and just kind of go limp, it's like, oh no, that's definitely something internal, and something like you said, non-contact is never the good sign.
Yeah, I don't really have much of like a boost of confidence from this. It's just one, I am happy they won though, because when you run into the Bengals and the Bills, those are going to be ones you could very well lose.
Absolutely.
So I hope they get these next two with the Cardinals and the Raiders out of the way for wins to soften the blow a little bit. Like if you go 1-2 after beating the Raiders, say you have a chance to get in the playoffs. So there's that. I mean, yeah, it's just like I said, it's really hard to be like, oh yeah, this is awesome when you shut out Colt McCoy like offense in the second half.
Well, that's what I mean too. Like I don't want to say the Cardinals gave you the game because they were like you said, the young guys made some plays. Pierre Strong had a nice touchdown. Kevin Harris had the rushing touchdown as well. But like when you have DeAndre Hopkins basically give you a touchdown because he decided to carry the football like it's a loaf of bread instead of a football, like that's a mistake a veteran like him and a top receiver shouldn't make. So you get kind of lucky there. Again, you don't want to ever. I'm not rooting for an injury, don't get me wrong, but like you get lucky that Kyler Murray got hurt in the game, which again sounds terrible to say, but let's be honest, you just mentioned it. It's a lot different going out there and facing Colt McCoy than it is Kyler Murray. Because even the run that Kyler Murray had, it's like he was able to scramble, I think he picked up the first down or came close to it. And on that play, it's like, all right, well, he got out of the pocket and Patriots couldn't stop him until he obviously got hurt. So that, he kind of had a thought that maybe if he stayed in and wasn't, injured, things may not have went well off of one play, but you obviously have that happen there. So yeah, it's a game. I think like, for me, a takeaway too, you could say is like you said, you have the Bills coming up, you have the Bengals. I'd throw the Dolphins in there as well. A lot of people saw that.
Oh wait,
you got Miami too.
I completely forgot. I don't know why today I've been like thinking about it. I don't know why I thought they played the Jets in the final week of the season.
Would have lucked out. Now they get Miami one more time.
Oh yeah, so these games mean even more now.
Well, that's what I mean. This was a lot of people saw this as the game you had to win because it was the easiest on the schedule. I mean, you could maybe make the case of the Raiders, but the Raiders have been playing better than the Cardinals of late. So this was the game you had to have. If you want to have a feel-good moment, you could just say that they got this win no matter how it looked. So, maybe that's something to build on moving forward. I think the other, as we kind of touched on, the building block of this was, the rookies, and they stepped up. Marcus Jones, as we mentioned, had an all-around good game. Strong and Harris, as you said, the young running backs showed you something when you really hadn't seen a whole lot from them this season. because they hadn't gotten the opportunity. And then you saw a little bit of Tyquan Thornton again, 4 catches, 28 yards. It stinks that he had to come in because of injuries, but he showed you a little bit of something. I think he picked up a key first down as well later on in the game. So
he almost scored, yeah.
Yeah, I almost got in the end zone too. So you got a little bit out of your young guys. So maybe moving forward, those are some guys you can lean on, as you mentioned before, specifically with the running backs, depending on how the injuries shape out. But other than that, like, it's another one of these games. I don't want to, put it in the category of the Jets games, but it's like they don't tell you anything because you're expected to beat these teams and you did. So that's my, like I said, the big takeaway is they can still beat the mediocre teams. And I'm in the sense of like, if you want a big win, do it against the Bengals coming up, do it against the Bills, but that's not going to happen. Show something there and then maybe my mindset will change on you.
Yeah, I feel you.
All right.
I agree.
No other closing thoughts from me from this game. That was kind of my last ramblings, unless you had anything to add or if you wanted to jump into the week 14 recap, any games that stood out or anything that stood out from these games.
Yeah, I figured we could jump into the Raiders first.
Oh, sure. I know. I always do this. I always put the thing in the wrong order.
No worries. All right.
So about this Raiders.
The Raiders, as Chris Berman would say.
Yeah, the Raiders.
I love when they do the fastest 2 minutes on part of my take and they do like the exaggerated R's for like 30 seconds before they say Raiders. I love that.
Yep.
But yeah, the Raiders are 5-8. They're becoming a little scrappy the last few weeks, I'd say, but still a team you can beat, and most definitely a team that lost to Baker Mayfield on
unbelievable
48 hours of preparation with his new team.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's why the Raiders, this game to me is so confusing. Like I would have felt, not as great because again, the Raiders have been playing well and Adams has seemingly found his way and Josh Jacobs has turned into the best running back in football this season, it seems like, but then they go out and lose to 48-hour Baker Mayfield. Like now they're back to being the Raiders that you should be able to beat. So I don't know how to look at this game, to be honest.
I'm just worried about a Brandon Bolden revenge game, man.
Maybe Jarrett Stidham. You think he gets in at all? I mean, we did just have one quarterback go down with an injury. Who knows if that might rear its ugly head again? But
I don't know. All jokes aside, this is the potential Josh McDaniels revenge game.
Yep. That tends to be the case when Bill Belichick faces his former prodigies. So, and McDaniels has done it to him once before with the Broncos. So that is something that very well could happen.
Long ago,
it absolutely does.
It was way longer than it does. It actually is for some reason. But yeah, like you said, Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams are the main threats. Matt Collins has been good, which is kind of weird because I always thought he kind of sucked, but he stepped up. Darren Waller was designated to return from IR, so we'll see if he is back in the mix. Foster Moreau will shelter the burden of the starting tight end snaps and everything. If not, Hunter Renfrow been hurt recently, but I think he might have been activated as well today. But not sure. Who did Schefter say? Because I saw his tweet. Where is it? Darren Waller, yeah, they're both designated to return from IR, so maybe we see both of them. Maybe see one, maybe none.
Okay.
That'll be interesting to watch. I'd prefer to see none. They can rest.
Yeah, make it easier. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be fine with me. Defense, I mean, I couldn't tell you a time like that the Raiders defense hasn't like kind of confused me in one area or another.
How so?
They're just like, they're always missing something to me. Like at this point in time, they have Chandler Jones. They added Max Crosby is an all-pro. Denzel Perriman is still pretty good. Nate Hobbs is solid. Ruck Yassin and Trayvon Mayrick are good young players, but there's just always, I feel like, something missing from this Raiders defense. Divine Diablo has been really good this year as well. But I don't know. There's always something that like keeps me lukewarm on this team because I always feel like they're missing something, whether it's on like the O-line or the defense. And yeah, it's just, I'm not scared of the Raiders. I don't think the Patriots should be either.
Okay.
And yeah, I think the Patriots are going to win. Spoiler alert.
That is a spoiler alert.
To win.
You're supposed to do your keys to the game first and what's going to happen or what you think needs to happen for the Patriots to win. And then you say they're going to win. All right, fair enough.
But yeah, my keys to the game, as you alluded to, the health of Stevenson and Parker, obvious one, that'll really affect things if they're in or out. And obviously Jacoby Myers as well. He was not in the mix against Arizona, and they did okay. So hopefully they can do that again if he's still out. One thing for me, we saw Mac Jones play really good against Minnesota on Thanksgiving. Then the last 2 weeks have, not quite been to that standard. So I want to see, against a defense that can be suspect at times. If he can, be like a 300 plus yard QB guy, that was redundant. But yeah, he had a really good game against the Vikings. I think I want to see more of that. So I'm hoping he can do that. Can Strong Jr. and Harris keep it up if they're relied on? And Mac Jones talked about wanting to have the tight ends more continuously involved. And Hunter Henry had a good game last week. So
yes, he did.
Can we see that? Can we see Jonnu Smith do anything?
Get used at all. They run one of those dumb left screens to him that he drops or it falls incomplete, and then they're like, all right, we're done with that. We can't throw it to him anymore because he can't catch the ball. Like maybe try to run the guy downfield, have him run one of those, up the seam plays like he ran, like you said, with Hunter Henry, and it worked out well last night or the other night. Do something. I'm with you. Use both tight ends. Like you're paying them a lot of money. We've been saying this all season. And for some reason, it always seems to be the case that they'll use just like one of the two and just kind of forget about the other one.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not getting my hopes up though, because
I don't know how you can. I think you'd be foolish to. Like you just said, Hunter Henry had a good game last week, so this week it'll probably be Jonnu Smith, and they'll use Hunter Henry to block most of the time because they don't want to use both tight ends for whatever reason.
Yeah, could be, honestly.
Yep. Any other keys, or was that your last one? Should we jump into mine?
Yeah, let's jump into yours.
All right. So mine, again, it's the big one. If you follow the trend, the Patriots, of course, have played top receivers the last handful of weeks. It's been a mixed bag. Obviously, DeAndre Hopkins last night, or Monday night. I don't know why I keep saying last night. Monday night, 7 catches and 11 targets, 79 yards, was kept out of the end zone again, although he almost had one sensational one-handed grab. Did have the costly fumble that, really turned the tides of the game. But then a couple weeks before that, Stephon Diggs goes for 92 and a touchdown. Justin Jefferson, of course, just destroyed them on Thanksgiving night, 9 receptions for 11 targets, and a touchdown on 139 yards. You get Devontae Adams, arguably the best receiver in football this week in 2 games versus the Patriots in his career. 12 catches, 20 targets, 161 yards, and a touchdown. That, of course, came with Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback. So how would Derek Carr look with him against the Patriots? I think it's probably your best chance to stop him because obviously Derek Carr is not as good as a quarterback as Aaron Rodgers. The question I have for you, the Patriots did throw a lot of different looks at DeAndre Hopkins on Monday night. They had Jack Jones on him at times. Marcus Jones got him. I think Jonathan Jones had him a couple times as well. Is there a corner? And if so, which one do you trust to try to limit Devontae Adams the best? Or do you think they kind of just employ or deploy the multiple guys, different looks at him type of thing?
Yeah, I am expecting Jack Jones and Jonathan Jones if Jack is healthy.
I was going to say Jack Jones did not practice today. Yep. So that's not great. Jalen Mills was limited, though. Maybe Jalen Mills gets a chance at him. Has not played in a couple of weeks, so I don't know how much confidence I would have in throwing a kind of cold guy out there on him, but
would prefer not.
He is the number one corner, but again, I'm with you. Like, I don't want to see Jalen Mills get cooked by, it's going to be tough for any cornerback to play against Devontae Adams. That's a given, but maybe you see some Duggar on him. Duggar was the one that caused the fumble on Hopkins. So maybe, like you said, the Waller is designated to come back. So you got to think Kyle Duggar will have his chance at him. So if he plays, I don't know how you do it. Again, those matchups, you got to think the Patriots, forgot to check the years on the 2 games that Adams played against the Patriots, but you got to think it fell into the Gilmore, maybe even Revis if you go that far back. I don't think so. But you have to think they had a number 1 corner at some point on Devontae Adams. You don't really have that now. So it's going to be tough. And then to kind of follow that up as well with limiting guys, can you limit the best running back in football this year in Josh Jacobs? In wins, he's been excellent, 131 rushes and 769 yards and 8 touchdowns, 5.9 yards per attempt and 153.8 yards per game. In losses, though, it seems like when Josh Jacobs goes, the Raiders go, because in losses and 138 rushes, he has 633 yards, 3 touchdowns on 4.6 yards per attempt and 79.1 yards per game. Patriots, again, has been a mixed bag when it comes to stopping pretty good running backs. They were able to hold Dalvin Cook in check on Thanksgiving night, but James Conner had a couple of solid runs against them the other night. So I don't know if there's any type of way you would try to stop Josh Jacobs, what you would do to limit him. And then, again, we kind of touched on this, who will the Patriots quote unquote threats be on offense when it comes to injured guys? Jacoby Myers, Ramondre Stevenson, Damian Harris, and Devontae Parker all showed up on the injury report once again. Like you said, do the tight ends get involved more? Could you see more of Pierre Strong or Kevin Harris? Or, does Tyquan Thornton finally have a breakout game? I think I know your answer to this. Probably you're going to lean more on using the tight ends, but is there anything else you would look at? Maybe try to get some guys going to try to maybe get some different looks here.
Yeah, give me more of the tight ends, and I don't know, like
you're going to see more of Marcus
like
Jones. Like that's
Tyquan is not like giving you an overwhelming reason to like use him a lot, but I would like to see you use him.
Well, that's what I mean. It's like, can you really fault him for that when he doesn't like? They're not. I feel like they're not putting him out on the field. They're going with Marcus Jones more, which again, like he's been great. Don't get me wrong, but like the guy is a corner playing wide receiver. Like you'd like to see something out of your second round pick of a wide receiver in Tyquan Thornton. So maybe you get him going in this game. Maybe, Kendrick Bourne got used a little bit more, probably out of necessity in the Cardinals game. Maybe you see him get a little bit more action as he tries to, again, continue to find his way out of the doghouse. Who knows? It's going to be interesting. Like you said, injury report wise, Jack Jones, Devontae Parker, Ramondre Stevenson, and Isaiah Wynn all did not practice today with knee, concussion, ankle, and foot injuries for those respective guys. Christian Barmore, Yodny Kajust, Joe Cardona, Jacoby Myers, Jalen Mills, and Damian Harris were all limited. I think obviously the standout are the final three, that Myers, Mills, and Harris were limited. They actually practiced. So maybe you get a couple of those guys in this game. Maybe you get all three. That would obviously help a ton.
Yeah, that'd be lovely.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely would love to see all three of them back, but I'm not counting on it.
No.
Damian Harris is, I don't know, this thing is weird for a thigh injury. I wonder what's going on there, but I've been unfortunate for him in particular.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side, Alex Bars and Rock Yassin did not participate. And then we got Andrew Billings, limited, Jermaine Illuminor, old friend, Josh Jacobs.
Revenge game for him.
And
he's going to pancake guys and put guys on their ass because he's a great tackle.
So bad. He was so bad.
Yeah.
I don't miss him. Maybe a Justin Herron revenge game.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Has a deep cut.
Would you take Jermaine or Illuminor or Isaiah Wynn right now?
Isaiah Wynn.
Okay, I think I might. You know what? I'd have to go back and look at how many holding penalties, Illuminor, false start penalties he had in his Patriots career. Because if it's less than Isaiah Wynn, I'm taking Illuminor. Because I've had it with Isaiah Wynn, even though he hasn't played in like 5 weeks.
Strong. That's strong.
It's a hot take.
Oh,
you got to think. I know Illuminor was the first Isaiah Wynn joke. Like Illuminor was a guy that always showed up on
Newhouse was first.
I was just going to ask you who was the other tackle or the other guard, whatever position he played. So it was Newhouse, then Illuminor, and then now Isaiah Wynn. So at least we've had plenty of content and plenty of legitimate filled in spots on the duds list when it comes to one or two names. So thank you for that, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks for nothing. Yeah. I am going 31-21 Patriots in this game.
How do you have the Patriots finding a way to 30 plus points? What is your secret? What are they going to do that gets them to 30 plus against the Raiders? Or you just don't have any faith in the Raiders defense is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, outside of the pass rush, I don't think there's like a super overwhelming threat there.
Okay.
I think Mac Jones rises to the occasion here.
I hope so too. I'd like Mac Jones to continue to, like I said, say F you to Matt Patricia and just do his own thing because it's at times has worked well, it seems like.
Yeah.
For me, I'm not as confident in you as in the Patriots and putting up points. I think you're probably going to get another defensive score in this game as one of your, maybe if your only touchdown. Math doesn't add up, but you get what I mean. I have the Patriots winning 23-18. I think it's going to be a close game because I think both these teams stink offensively. And the Patriots just make more plays on defense and find a way to make Derek Carr look like, crappy Derek Carr, which we've been accustomed to a couple times this season.
We sure have. Have. Oh boy. Week 14. Oh buddy, week 14.
Starting with these Raiders on Thursday night.
Yep, I was scrolling back up.
Gotcha.
So I was drawing a blank on the Thursday night game. Yeah,
okay.
Baker Mayfield.
It was
solid.
It was a game worth drawing a blank on until the final 4 or so minutes of it. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah, he got like offensive player of the week, I think, in the NFC.
That's pathetic.
Like, what?
It's very, again, it's
Jared
just the
Goff,
fact that
dude.
he learned the playbook in 48 hours, and definitely not the fact that he played the Raiders, and the referees definitely helped him out in this game, because I was at work, obviously didn't catch the end of the game, but just kind of watching back the highlights and scrolling through Twitter. Not a lot of people were happy with the defensive pass interference call, and then the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty for knocking the football out of Baker Mayfield's hands. Which, what are we doing here? Are we playing pee-wee football and we're gonna hurt someone's feelings? Like, come on, I don't want to say there was an agenda for that game, but you might want to read between the lines on that. They really leaned into the, Baker learned the playbook in 48 hours. That storyline pretty hard.
Whatever we're saying. It's
Yeah.
such an annoying game.
Yep.
Anything to have a storyline to talk about when you need filler on the broadcast.
I guess anything to
Yeah.
try to make Baker Mayfield look like a legitimate, usable quarterback.
Hey guys, Baker Mayfield is 48 hours to get ready for this game?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. Bengals 23, Browns 10. Jamar Chase, pretty good. Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins leaving the game.
T. Higgins with the biggest FU to fantasy football people.
That's
ever.
Right. He left in pregame workouts.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh boy.
Nobody said anything. Their head coach didn't say anything until after the fact. It was like, oh yeah, T. Higgins, we tried to hold him out, but he went out and played. Like, there's no way that he got past coaches and was able to sneak his way onto the field for one snap. Like, you just try to put him out there and didn't bother telling anybody he was hurt. So I legitimately had a argument in one of the fantasy football leagues I'm in, because the kid missed the playoffs because he started T. Higgins and needed 4 points. So him and the 7th seed or the 6th seed were trying to plead their cases for why either team should have been in the playoffs. It's like, anybody that started T. Higgins from a fantasy football standpoint, you should get some points for that, or anybody you would have started over T. Higgins, because that whole thing was a debacle.
Yeah, it is pretty tough. I would be pretty pissed as well if I was in that situation. Deshaun Watson has been pretty the game back.
Pretty bad. He's looked like a guy that hasn't played football for 2 years.
Yeah, sure does.
Yeah. Not much else for that game, though. I mean, in all honesty, there were a lot of weird games this week. Not a lot of I feel like notable, huge performances. Joe Mixon was great in his return, 14 rushes, 96 yards after missing a couple games with the concussion that he was coming back from. But yeah, I think you hit on the two stories: the Jamar Chase balling out and Deshaun Watson continuing to look pretty bad as a Brown so far. Yeah,
it's a real shame for Deshaun Watson. It's terrible, man.
Yep. If I was, what's his name, Brissett, I'd be like, can I get back in here and play quarterback? At least I was winning you guys some games down the stretch. Give me something here.
Excuse me. That would be really funny if after all this, late in the season, Jacoby Brissett comes back and when they have all this money committed to Deshaun Watson, they're just cursed again.
Mm-hmm. Well, they are the Browns. It fits the
Eagles and Giants. Eagles moved to 12-1 with a 48-22 thumping of the Giants. Miles Sanders went off. Jalen Hurts is just very good every single week.
Is he the MVP favorite right now?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yep.
I think he has to be.
Yeah, I've changed my 2-2. I was riding, as much as I hated it, was riding Mahomes for a while, but Hurts is the best player on the best team. And he does it on the ground.
Mahomes is in Josh Allen territory. Really,
I was going to say,
most picks in the league.
When we got to that game, I was going to say he is throwing his I think he already has thrown his MVP case away with how just some stupid interceptions he's had. That's the thing too. Hurts doesn't turn the ball over.
Yeah, and he gets it done on the ground.
Absolutely.
Which Mahomes does too, but I mean, it's a big difference in picks. Just
True.
Saying.
Yep.
Just saying. Bills 20, Jets 12. Bills moved to 10-3. Zonovan Bam Knight, my new favorite name in the league, had a good game. Garrett Wilson is solid as well. He has another good game. And the Jets do not play spoiler this time. And Mike White, I mean,
they were trying to kill him in this game, it seemed like. Zach Wilson slipped somebody at 20 and was like, hey, go out, somebody on the Bills, go out there and just beat him up a couple times because I want to get back out there and play and not lead the Jets to the playoffs. If Mike White gets hurt, their playoff hopes are over. Let's be honest here.
No, Joe Flacco's the savior, bro.
Yeah, okay. He's elite too, from what I've been told all these years.
Yeah, that's not a lie. It's a factoid.
Nope.
But yeah, the Jets do not pull it off, which is good, I guess. I mean, this game going either way. I wouldn't have liked the result. So,
Mhm.
yeah, that's really it. I don't really have much to add. I wasn't
No,
like super into this game on Sunday.
nope.
Texans and Cowboys though was interesting because Texans almost pulled it off, and looked like they were going to for a while until late in the game.
Mhm.
Um, this tells me all I need to see about the Cowboys in a big game, because
Just
this
gonna
is not
ask
a
you
big
that.
game
Mhm.
by any means, but like if you're doing this against the Texans, I still have no confidence in you in a big playoff game.
No, I don't know how you can. I mean, they're gonna have to go on the road. Like the fact that 10-3 is gonna get you a wild card is insane. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's mid-December. Like this is where the Cowboys start to, the wheels start to come off the wagon a little bit. The screws start to come loose. Um, just a prime example of like overlooking your opponent. They're going in and playing the 110-1 Texans. You got this game under wraps. You're at home, and not a great performance except for Pollard and Zeke. Dallas's run game's legit. Pollard and Zeke are a dynamic duo. They can get it done, either one of those two guys. But CeeDee Lamb was held in check in this game. Dak threw a couple of really stupid picks. Like we talked about that a couple weeks ago, I think. Like Prescott can lose you a game as much as he can win it. So I don't know if there's cause for concern in Dallas, but I could see where you're coming from. That like I don't know how you could really have faith in this if you only beat the Texans by 4 points in the final, whatever it was, 20 or so seconds.
Yeah, they're going to be the Cowboys until they prove otherwise to me at
Yep.
this rate.
And they
This is
lost
another
their right
year.
tackle too to a torn ACL. So that's
Yeah,
not great
that doesn't
either.
help. That
Nope.
does not help. Jaguars 36, Titans 22. Trevor Lawrence, another good game for him, really good, but I'm still in the camp with him that I need to see this on a more consistent base in a full
Okay.
season.
All right.
I don't know
Still not ready to give. I mean, no. I mean, if it wasn't for the Buccaneers, I feel like the Jaguars would be the most confusing team in football. Like they'll have one week like this where they'll play really, really well on all sides of the ball, and then I don't know who they're playing this week. They'll probably lose to whoever it is because they just can't seem to put together a couple of good wins in a row. It seems like.
Yeah, that's why I've been very lukewarm on Trevor Lawrence these past few weeks in
Oh, they have
particular.
Dallas, I think. I'm remembering back from again fantasy football matchup. I think it's Dallas they have.
Yeah, they have Dallas. That sounds right.
That'll be tough.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, but Dallas,
True. You just saw it with
Houston can keep
Dallas.
it close. I think Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars might be able to go in there and get a dub.
I'd like to see that.
That would be
funny.
really funny. That would be. I'd like it too. Teams I don't like, the Raiders and the Steelers, played in a poop game.
I really wish this game could have ended in a tie because both these teams did not deserve. I mean, maybe you could say the Ravens did on their third string quarterback, but I would have liked a tie here because I hate both these teams.
Yeah. Injuries galore. Lamar's already hurt. Tyler Huntley ends up exiting the game. Anthony Brown comes in. Kenny Pickett gets concussed. Mitch Trubisky threw 3 picks as expected. And dude, his pick on that deep ball, I think it was Peters who intercepted it, was so funny. Yeah. I just started laughing. I was like, this is Mitch Trubisky. This is why I love him, because he's so bad.
Yeah.
It was just
good.
Air mails it to the left side of the end zone directly to Marcus Peters. Like it was what
are you doing? Yeah.
Marcus Peters. It was
a great throw if you were trying to hit the defensive back, like
Marcus
safety.
Williams. Marcus Williams, not Marcus Peters. I'm saying the wrong guy.
Yeah.
So funny. Bears fans had a moment with the Roquan Smith pick, a former Bear throwing a pick to a former Bear. Patrick Queen, as you've noted, had one as well. But yeah, Baltimore wins a poop game. It's a stinky, stinky game.
Absolutely.
2 stinky, weird teams, especially with Lamar Jackson out. The Lions beat the Vikings. The Lions are I love them. I really do. Jared Goff is really good.
I don't want to say out of nowhere, but like what he's doing this year is something that I know there's still people that maybe think that the Lions need to go get a quarterback in the draft. I don't think so. Like they might have something here with Goff. Like that team, it just seems to, I don't want to say rally around him, but like he's figured something out over in Detroit.
Yeah. It puts them in a really interesting position with the Rams pick, because Goff has been good, but can you really pass up on a guy like CJ Stroud or Bryce Young? but you could also get Anderson, who could really help strengthen that defense from Alabama. I mean, him and Aiden Hutchinson off the edges, forget about it.
Oh,
That
that'd
would
be
be
ridiculous.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But as you've noted here, no revenge game for TJ Hawkinson. He played good, but didn't light the world on fire, and obviously the Vikings lost. Jameson Williams, good to see him get his first touchdown catch. It's been a tough season for him recovering from ACL surgery.
Yep.
But his social media is awesome. He posts some funny Instagram stories.
Does he?
Yeah, I like him.
Okay.
And the Lions, I mean, are the Lions the best? I want to say they're the best bad team in the league, but they're kind of not bad.
That's what I mean. They're not bad. The record shows like a 6-7 record. You'd say
team.
I think
the best.
Yeah, I mean,
slightly above average team.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I don't. Again, the Patriots are average and mediocre, but you wouldn't say
the
they're
Patriots
anywhere near
the best bad team.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Again, you're going off record wise, sure, but would you take the Lions the way they run it on offense, or the way the Patriots run it on offense right now? I think I'd take the Lions. I'd like to see
absolutely.
The Patriots do something like the Lions did, close a game out by flipping it to your right tackle or whatever, like they did with Sewell. That was that was awesome. Funny to see and awesome. Dan Campbell didn't even know what the hell was going on listening to his interview.
Penei Sewell's kid's first, football game as a young part of this world.
Yeah, that's awesome.
His dad as a reported eligible receiver. Taylor Decker talked about that on Part of My Take today. That was pretty funny.
Did he?
His teammate and fellow lineman.
I think real quick too, before we get into that Chiefs game, one thing I wanted to say, because you said the Lions are maybe, again, not a bad team, but the best of the bad records. Again, I think this is a game where it shows that the Vikings are frauds. Vegas knew something, putting the Lions as the favorite. A lot of people question that, why the Vikings who were 10-2? This is why, because the Vikings they just can't get it done. It seems like in the big moment, Justin Jefferson's huge game gets wasted. Kirk Cousins got out-dueled by Jared Goff. The Vikings defense is not that good. I was wrong on them. They are kind of a fraudulent football team.
Yeah, they're a pure wild card because we saw them win that crazy game against the Bills, and then they lose to the Lions, even though the Lions have been, better. And yeah, I mean, the Vikings though will cruise into the playoffs because they have,
absolutely, they got it done at the start of the year. Yeah,
easy remaining schedule. So
yep,
we'll see how it holds up because you can't ever rule out a team that has Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson. So we will see how it holds up. They are in maybe not so sneaky fraud territory anymore.
I think so.
Right now. So Chiefs and Broncos. This one was weird because the Broncos were getting pissed on and then made their way back into
down
this
21-0, right?
Yeah, they were
close to it. Yeah,
speed bagged early. Chiefs win 34-28. What was I going to say about this game? I had something outside of the outline I wanted to say that I'm drawing a blank on.
I was going to say, I try to jog your memory. Patrick Mahomes throwing the game away, but no one probably said anything about
Patrick
that.
Mahomes, one of his picks was brutal.
Yeah.
I forget which one it was, but it was a weird game for him with, dominating to start and then some picks to tarnish the stat line a little bit. But the defense came to play for the Chiefs, as you have noted here. 6 sacks, 2 interceptions, 11 QB hits and 7 tackles for loss. So that was pretty good. Jerry Jeudy, nobody's talking about the fact that he had 3 touchdowns because he plays for the Broncos, and nobody cares about that.
He was pissed in the middle of the game too, wasn't he? Wasn't he throwing his helmet or something was going on, and then just
some bullshit?
Flipped a switch. Yeah, absolutely. The thing that stinks of this game, obviously the Chiefs winning, it sucks, but it was the first glimpse at times that you saw Russell Westbrook. Russell Wilson kind of looked like vintage Russ because he didn't have a bad game. 247 yards in the air, 3 touchdowns, had 4 rushes for 57 yards, and then goes out with a concussion. So you can't. I don't want to say can't catch a break with Denver because a lot of their doing has been self-inflicted this season. They've just been so bad. But it sucks that the first game, Russell Wilson kind of looks like the old Russ. He goes out with an injury and he can't win the game. So tough look there.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the story of the season for the Broncos, and
seems like it. Yep,
it really is. Next up is pretty shocking. It is Brock Purdy beating Tom Brady by 28 points.
This game was never close. I mean, the final score wasn't close, but it was never close. Like right from the get-go, the 49ers had this game. Like I said earlier, the Buccaneers are the most aggravating team in football because they'll have a great win a couple weeks. Not a great win because it took them to the final 5 minutes to beat the Saints, but like you have a game like that where it seems like, all right, this is gonna. And I said this earlier in the year when they had who they had to come back the first one against, where Brady. I can't remember who it was. What team? Wait, was Atlanta? Maybe Atlanta. Whoever it was, where it was like, all right, Brady's back. Like this is gonna light a fire under the team. They're gonna go just on a run now and just coast through the rest of the win the division, do everything they need to do to get in. And now you say that last week, like I did. Brady's back. They're gonna win out. They'll put up a fight against the 49ers who don't have Garoppolo now. They're playing, Mr. Irrelevant. He's not gonna be able to beat the GOAT. And then you have this game where Brady looks probably as bad as he's looked all season. The offense looks disconjointed. The defense gets shredded again by the last pick in the draft. And, Christian McCaffrey was great in this game too. So it wasn't just all Brock Purdy, but like he made some throws in this game where it's like, I don't know why this guy was the last pick in the draft because the 49ers might have something there. The Buccaneers are going to get in because that division is just so terrible. But there's a legit problem with that team. I don't know why they can't continue to, string good games together.
Yeah, one thing that's certainly not helping is I don't think Mike Evans has like a touchdown since like week 2.
Yeah, I heard it earlier today. They said it was like October. I think Mike Reese said it. October, I want to say 5th because that seems like it's way too far away, but it might be right around there. Like if that's when
three scores this year, and yeah, October 2nd against KC, he had 2. So he's only scored in 2 games all year.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. That's freaking weird.
Yeah, he's disappeared. I mean, that entire offense, it's kind of been just Chris Godwin maybe the last couple of games who's done anything in Rashad White. Yep. Like other than that, they need something to figure. And maybe again, that's getting Mike Evans going, but who knows? They're an incredibly aggravating team to follow because it just doesn't seem like they can string anything together.
Yeah, they really can't.
Mm-hmm.
But they're going to sneak into the playoffs and Brady could surprise us. So
absolutely.
Unless they just completely crumble, which I don't know if I see happening, even though they've been weird this year. Panthers and Seahawks, 30-24 Panthers. The Seahawks didn't win for Turf the dog, who passed away, their team dog, which is something they have to live with. You got to win that game.
Yep.
I
didn't even know that was a thing, but thank you for telling me that.
R.I.P. Turf the dog.
Yep.
You got to win for Turf the dog, and you got to beat Sam Darnold, and you didn't. It was the battle of former Jets QBs, and Sam Darnold came out on top, which I thought the Seahawks were going to win this game, and they didn't.
Never would be the case, yeah.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold outduels Geno Smith with 120 yards passing. Like,
stupid game.
Absolutely. I mean, the story of the day, turnovers. Geno Smith has 2 picks. Sam Darnold has none. Again, never would have thought that stat line was going to be the case. And Carolina's ground game was pretty good. Chuba Hubbard had a touchdown, 74 yards on 14 carries. Donta Foreman had 74 yards on 21 carries. Rasheem Blackshear had 32 yards and a touchdown. I'm glad I was told to start Donta Foreman for him to be the only running back not to score a touchdown in this game for the Panthers. That was cool, but good win for them, I guess. They keep their playoff hopes alive. The thing that sucked too is I had Hubbard on my bench because Foreman was didn't practice the first couple days last week, and I'm like, I'll pick up Hubbard just in case. Never even considered starting either one or starting both of them. Never considered starting Hubbard once Foreman was cleared, and that came back to bite me in the butt.
Yeah, that's tough. Foreman has been really back and forth the last few weeks.
He has. Yep. It's either 100 yards rushing and like 20 plus points, or 50 and 5 points. Like,
yeah, he's
not fun.
An odd guy.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, advantage Sam Darnold in this one, I guess.
Yep.
Chargers and Dolphins to wrap it up. Jalen Waddle was held in check in this one to a pretty rough game.
Mm-hmm.
Tyreek Hill made the most out of 4 receptions with 81 yards and a touchdown. Miami was pretty limited, and Justin Herbert completed 39 of 51 passes, which is quite good.
It's insane. Yep.
It's quite good. Austin Eckler, I mean, this guy is just ridiculous this year.
Does it all. Yep.
Him and Josh Jacobs been pacing the league.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Chubb as well. This is the first time we've seen Keenan Allen really look like vintage Keenan Allen pretty much all season.
Yep.
That was interesting to see. Mike Williams has been awesome. Like whenever he is in the lineup, because
I was
he's
gonna say
had
when
some
he's
injury
healthy,
trouble as well. He has been awesome. But advantage Chargers in the matchups of Herbert versus Tua, which are
absolutely.
gonna live in infamy for years to come, given their draft position.
Yeah, I was gonna say they had a chance. But yeah, that was kind of the takeaway for me is you finally really saw what a healthy and functional Chargers lineup could look like, which could make them scary. Again, if anybody has listened to me talk about the Chargers, if their head coach just stays out of their way and lets Herbert cook and gets the ball to their three big playmakers, like you mentioned, Eckler, Williams, and Allen all had good games. The Chargers could maybe make a run, but again, there is still some questions on defense with that team, and then again, their head coach being a completely putz.
These younger coaches need to stop doing this because it doesn't work for Cliff Kingsbury either. It doesn't work for Brandon Staley. And look at Kevin O'Connell this year. Kevin O'Connell doesn't do crazy shit like that as a young coach.
Take the points when you should.
And he's won 10 games.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just, again, the Chargers have been a huge enigma for me because of all the talent they have on their roster. They were my team to go to the Super Bowl out of the AFC, and just how their season has gone. And obviously they've been dealing with injuries all season, but like a team that should be better than they have been. Like I said, if you want a glimmer of hope, like I mentioned, this is the first time you've really seen all these guys healthy and what this team is capable of.
Maybe the fuck around and find out team of the year.
Maybe that'd be something.
Maybe. I would chirp you about having the Chargers in the Super Bowl, but I had the Rams. So
that's true. And you had multiple whatever teams and undefeated teams but that's why they're preseason.
Just one.
That's why they're preseason picks. Anything can happen. Again, if I knew Brandon Staley was a dumbass and decided to lean more on analytics than just watching what's going on the field, I would have never picked the Chargers in the Super Bowl. I would have said they're going to get bounced in the first round, if make it at all, because you need to have some sort of game feel, and he doesn't seem to have a lot of that.
Yeah, he's unpredictable. Unpredictable, but at the same time predictable. So I'm going to
4th and 1 from the 2. We're going to go for it instead of kicking the field goal. Oh shit, we didn't get it. We got -3 yards because we put our backup running back out there, and Joshua Kelly ran in the wrong direction. Like
goofy.
Yeah.
Goofy.
3rd and 5 from our own 40. We're going to go for it instead of punting the ball away. Oh shit, we get picked up. Like, it's just you and I. We're sitting here. It's like we know what to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Brandon Staley acts like he's playing Madden out there instead of just making the smart decision.
Yeah.
Any thoughts real quick before we end up? Obviously, the Patriots do have the Dolphins, as you said, on the schedule one more time, not the Jets. Dolphins have kind of faltered here of late. I know we just said that the Vikings are pretenders. Maybe, the Cowboys are starting to slip a little bit. Look at them as the season goes on. Any thoughts on the Dolphins?
Have slipped.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. The Giants are 100% frauds. We said it weeks ago that if Saquon Barkley gets shut down, that entire team just falls apart. And that's been the case. Saquon maybe is getting overused according to some. And you're starting to see that their offense is faltering and Daniel Jones cannot win you football games.
The miss by Julian Love was pretty funny.
Mm-hmm.
That I saw someone say if this was 2006, he would have ended up in the hospital. Someone just coming across the field and sending them onto the sidelines, 20 feet onto the sidelines.
No.
What was your question again? We got
any thoughts on the Dolphins maybe being, I don't want to say complete frauds because there is some talent on that team, but they have slipped. Any thoughts on that, or you think they've still got time to figure it out? I think Tua slipped out of his MVP consideration with this game. I think it's down to Hurts and Mahomes. There is not going to be a third option, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still a little scared of the Dolphins. I'll say
I am too.
I'll say I'm a little scared.
All right, I'm glad we're in agreement there. That was the big thing from this game. You had two very similar offenses that has a ton of big play explosiveness, and the Chargers just had a couple of plays like that. The Dolphins didn't. So
yeah,
they still scare me though. I'm right there with you. A lot of speed, a lot of great playmakers on that offense. Can't hold them down for long.
This is true. I think that is going to wrap it up for episode 122, though. Thank you so much for listening as we are back here. Hopefully we won't have to take any breaks in the coming weeks. We'll be back to weekly uploads. But thank you for listening. You can find us wherever you find your podcasts. You can find us on Twitch and YouTube as well on the Full Press coverage pages. You can rate, review on Spotify and Apple. You can follow me on Twitter at Mike_Cratty. You can follow Ryan at Ryan_Salvaggio, and you can follow the show at Sal and Cratty Pod. You can follow us on TikTok if you throw our name in the search bar. You'll find us nice and handy dandy there. Yeah, we'll talk to you next week, next Wednesday for episode 123, 123. Stay safe, stay healthy, be nice to people, all that good stuff. And we will talk to you then. Peace out.